A 68-year-old man named Oliver was standing in his kitchen early one morning preparing his usual cup of coffee. The house was quiet. Everything felt completely normal. Then, without any warning and without any pain, something strange happened. The cup suddenly slipped from his hand. His left arm refused to respond. He tried to call out to his wife, but the words came out broken and scrambled as if his mouth could no longer form the sounds he was thinking. One side of his face began to droop. In that moment, Oliver was having a stroke. But here's the part almost no one talks about. Before the ambulance even turned onto his street, Oliver did something incredibly simple, something so unexpected that later Dr. Michael Kent, the emergency physician who treated him, told the family it may have helped prevent permanent brain damage. Oliver didn't take medication, he didn't attempt CPR, and most importantly, he didn't panic. Instead, he changed his body position and began controlling his breathing in a very specific way. What Oliver understood, and what most people have never been told, is that the human body has a built-in emergency survival response. When activated correctly, it can help maintain blood flow to the brain during the most critical moments of a stroke. And in the next few minutes, we're going to walk through exactly what he did, because here's a sobering reality. Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States experiences a stroke. But what rarely gets discussed is what happens in the first few minutes, before paramedics arrive, before the hospital, before medications or scans. Those first 3 minutes can determine whether someone fully recovers or lives with lifelong disability, and those minutes carry far more power than most people realize. Today, Dr. Michael Kent explains two things every adult over the age of 60 should understand. First, the early warning signals your body may send seconds before a stroke fully takes hold. And second, a positioning and breathing approach that research suggests may help support brain circulation while emergency help is on the way. This isn't folklore. This isn't internet myth. It's based on modern neurological and cardiovascular research, and it's something anyone can learn right now. But before we get to that technique, it's important to understand what is actually happening inside the brain during a stroke. Most people imagine a stroke as a sudden collapse, like a switch flipping off in the brain, instant catastrophe, lights out. But that's rarely how it begins. In many cases, a stroke starts quietly, subtly, almost politely. Think of your brain like a massive city at night, millions of lights glowing at once. Every one of those lights depends on a steady flow of electricity. In your brain, that electricity is powered by blood-delivering oxygen through an incredibly delicate network of vessels. Every thought, every memory, every movement, all of it depends on that constant flow. Now imagine that one of those pathways suddenly becomes blocked, even for just a few seconds. A small section of that city goes dark. Sometimes the lights come back on again. When that happens, doctors call it a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. People often refer to it as a mini-stroke, but there is nothing mini about it. A TIA is your brain pulling the fire alarm. It's a warning that a major stroke may be moments away. And this is where the real danger begins. Many older adults ignore these early signals. An arm suddenly feels heavy. A foot drags for no clear reason. Words disappear mid-sentence. Balance feels off, then returns to normal. Because the symptoms fade, people often brush them off. They assume it was fatigue, maybe dehydration. Maybe they stood up too quickly. But those are not random glitches. They are distress signals from the brain. A blood clot may have formed in the heart, in the neck, or traveled upward from hardened arteries in the legs. When it reaches the brain and interrupts oxygen flow, brain cells begin dying within minutes. Here's the critical detail most people never hear. In the earliest moments, before the blockage becomes complete, there is sometimes a very small window where the body can still compensate. Blood flow hasn't fully collapsed yet, and that window is where simple circulation support techniques can make a difference while emergency help is on the way. So what are the warning signs you should never ignore? Sudden numbness or weakness on one side of the body, difficulty speaking or understanding simple words, a face that droops on one side as if half of it stopped responding, blurred or lost vision in one or both eyes, sudden dizziness or loss of balance, or a severe headache that appears out of nowhere with no clear cause. But here's the part most people miss. Sometimes the body gives these signals seconds before the stroke fully takes hold. But here's what catches most people completely off guard. Sometimes these warning symptoms last only 60 seconds, and then they disappear. The arm feels weak for a moment. The speech becomes slurred for a few seconds. The face droops slightly, and then everything seems to return to normal. And when the symptoms fade, people relax. They think the danger has passed, but it hasn't. In fact, when symptoms disappear, it often means the clock has already started. This is one of the main reasons so many strokes become severe. People hesitate. Even when the signs are right in front of them, they wait. Dr. Michael Kent explains that many older adults grew up in a time when asking for help was seen as a last resort. You were taught to push through discomfort. You didn't complain, you didn't make a scene. So when the face droops for a moment or words come out wrong, many people tell themselves it will pass. They don't want to bother anyone. But that quiet stoicism, the habit of enduring symptoms, can become deadly during a stroke. Because the difference between acting immediately and waiting just a few minutes can mean the difference between full recovery and permanent brain damage. Another challenge is learning to separate normal aging from real medical danger. Feeling lightheaded after standing up too quickly? That can happen. Doctors call it orthostatic hypotension, and it's often harmless. But sudden dizziness while sitting still, that's different. That can be dangerous. Misplacing your keys or forgetting a name occasionally? That's normal. But suddenly being unable to form clear sentences or understand simple words? That is an emergency. The line between these things can sometimes feel subtle, but understanding it can literally save a life. Now let's talk about the technique itself. This is what Oliver used during his stroke episode. And according to Dr. Michael Kent, it's a simple action that can make an extraordinary difference while waiting for emergency help. It's called the gravity-assisted blood flow technique. The science behind it is surprisingly simple. When blood flow to the brain is threatened, gravity and controlled breathing can become powerful allies. During a suspected stroke, every second matters. One of the fastest ways to support your brain is by helping your heart move blood upward more efficiently. Here's exactly what to do the moment those warning signs appear. First, do not panic. That sounds simple, but it's critical. Panic causes blood vessels to tighten and breathing to become shallow, which can reduce oxygen reaching the brain. The moment you notice symptoms like sudden dizziness, arm weakness, slurred speech, or facial drooping, your first priority is safety. Sit down immediately. If possible, lie down to prevent falling. The safest position is lying flat on your back, either on the floor or on a bed. Next, elevate your legs about 10 to 12 inches. You can use pillows, couch cushions, or even the seat of a chair. This simple change in position helps blood that is pooled in the legs return to the chest and then move upward toward the brain. In other words, you're using gravity as a tool, redirecting circulation to where it's needed most. But positioning alone isn't enough. This is where breathing becomes crucial. Begin slow, controlled breathing. Gently inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 2 seconds. Then slowly exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. This breathing pattern serves two important purposes. First, it increases the oxygen level in your blood. Second, it helps calm the nervous system and stabilize blood pressure. Both of these effects are extremely important during a stroke event. What's remarkable is that the combination of leg elevation and controlled breathing may help maintain brain circulation long enough for emergency services to arrive. According to Dr. Michael Kent, these few minutes can be incredibly important because in stroke medicine, time is everything. Each minute without oxygen can destroy millions of brain cells. But even a small improvement in blood flow during those early moments may reduce long-term damage. Now imagine yourself in that situation. You're frightened, you're confused, your body suddenly isn't responding the way it should. In that moment, having a clear action to take restores something incredibly powerful: control. And that matters more than most people realize because panic is dangerous. Panic causes fast, shallow breathing. Panic drains oxygen from the brain, and panic can make a terrifying situation even worse. But when you know exactly what to do, you replace panic with purpose. And sometimes that purpose can save a life. Calm, deliberate breathing does the exact opposite of panic. It preserves oxygen, it keeps the mind clearer, and it helps you think well enough to call for help, remember when the symptoms began, and remain still until the ambulance arrives. So let me be absolutely clear. If you or someone you love experiences those early warning signs, the goal is not to walk it off, not to test your strength, not to wait and see if it passes. The goal is simple. Get horizontal, elevate the legs, control the breath, and allow gravity to work in your favor. No medication, no equipment. Just simple actions that may help preserve brain function while professional help is on the way. According to Dr. Michael Kent, these first few minutes can be incredibly powerful when handled calmly and correctly. Now I want to shift to something that gives me genuine hope: the brain's remarkable ability to heal itself even after a stroke. Doctors have seen patients regain speech, coordination, and even memory months after a stroke that initially looked devastating. How is that possible? The answer lies in something called neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a rigid machine, it's a living, adaptable network. When a stroke damages one pathway, the brain doesn't simply give up. Other pathways can gradually learn to take over that lost function. Think of it like a city's road system. If a major highway becomes blocked, traffic doesn't stop forever. It reroutes. Side streets become the new main roads. Over time, those alternative routes become stronger and more efficient. Your brain works in a very similar way. But here's the key detail many people miss. That rebuilding process begins very early. The first 48 hours after a stroke are critically important. But what happens during the weeks and months afterward can be just as decisive for recovery. Gentle movement, guided breathing, and supportive nutrition all send powerful signals to the brain that say, reconnect, adapt, rebuild. Recent neurological research has shown something remarkable. Older adults who engage in slow, rhythmic movement, even simple seated exercises, are significantly more likely to regain balance, coordination, and memory compared to those who remain inactive after a stroke. And here's the encouraging part: recovery doesn't always require expensive machines or specialized rehabilitation centers. In many cases, it can begin right at home, sitting in a chair, with simple and intentional movements. Small, deliberate actions matter. When you slowly move your hand, when you take a slow, conscious breath, when you even visualize moving an arm or leg, you are sending signals to the brain to reopen those circuits. Consistency is what makes the difference. Just a few focused minutes every day can often be more powerful than occasional long therapy sessions that come and go. Nutrition also plays a major role, both in recovery and in reducing the risk of another stroke. After the age of 60, what you eat directly affects how easily blood moves through your vessels and how efficiently your brain functions. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and natural nitrates help support healthy circulation. Examples include salmon leafy greens, beets berries, and even small amounts of dark chocolate. These foods help support the flexibility of blood vessels and maintain healthy blood flow to the brain. Research has also shown that older adults who follow a Mediterranean-style eating pattern tend to experience significantly lower rates of stroke recurrence over time. And that highlights something important. Recovery is not just about therapy sessions, it's also about how you fuel your body, how deeply you rest, and how gently but consistently you move. That combination changes what's possible for the brain. It's never too late to rebuild, never too late to retrain your body to respond faster, heal smarter, and protect your future. Recovery isn't magic, and it isn't luck. It's biology, guided by patience and consistent action. Now let's shift from recovery to something even more powerful: prevention. For those of you listening who have never had a stroke, the real question becomes this: what daily habits protect the brain long before danger appears? The answer begins with one word: circulation. When blood moves freely, the brain thrives. But when blood flow becomes sluggish or restricted, damage can begin quietly, sometimes years before symptoms ever appear. One of the most powerful habits Dr. Michael Kent recommends is something he calls morning circulation activation. It's a simple routine that helps get blood moving within minutes of waking up, supporting the brain, the heart, and the entire vascular system before the day even begins. And in the next section, we'll walk through exactly how to do it. Here's a simple 3-minute morning reset that can make a measurable difference. The moment you wake up, before you even stand, sit on the edge of your bed. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, fully expanding your lungs. This increases oxygen in your bloodstream and gently wakes up your cardiovascular system. Next, begin gently pumping your calves by lifting your heels and toes in a steady rhythm for about 1 minute. This movement activates the soleus muscle, often called the body's second heart, because it helps push blood upward from the legs back toward the heart and brain. After that, slowly rotate your shoulders and neck, unhurried, as if you're easing your body into the day. These movements sound almost too simple to matter. But according to Dr. Michael Kent, research shows that seniors who perform light movement immediately after waking can reduce morning blood pressure spikes and improve brain blood flow significantly. No equipment, no gym, no strain, just awareness and gentle motion. Your brain responds to rhythm, calf pumping, deep breathing, gentle stretching. Each movement sends signals to your cardiovascular system to deliver oxygen where it's needed most. And when you pair this routine with hydration, drinking a glass of water before your coffee, you give your circulation the best possible start to the day. Long-term studies following older adults have shown something remarkable. Those who practice short morning circulation routines consistently tend to maintain stronger memory and cognitive clarity over time. That's not a coincidence. Longevity and mental sharpness are not built in hospitals. They are built through daily rituals, small actions repeated again and again. But circulation is only one part of the equation. Sleep quality matters, emotional calm matters, stress management matters. Chronic stress causes blood vessels to tighten and restrict blood flow, but laughter, gratitude, and social connection do the opposite. They help blood vessels relax and open. Even simple pleasures, walking in sunlight, listening to music you love, spending time with people who bring you peace, stimulate a powerful molecule called nitric oxide, which helps keep arteries flexible and responsive. And flexible arteries are exactly what the brain depends on for long-term protection. This shifts the way we think about health. Not something you reach for only when you're sick, but something woven into daily life, something practiced quietly and consistently. The secret to a stroke-resistant brain isn't perfection, it's consistent care. When you give your brain steady oxygen, healthy circulation, and emotional balance every day, you don't just reduce stroke risk, you sharpen mental focus, you stabilize mood, and you slow many aspects of the aging process itself. Now let's return to the story we began with. When Oliver's symptoms appeared that morning, he didn't freeze. He didn't panic. He remembered what he had learned. He sat down. He lay flat. He elevated his legs using a pillow, and he began slow, controlled breathing while his wife called for help. By the time paramedics arrived, his speech had already started to improve. Later, Dr. Michael Kent explained to the family that Oliver's calm response and immediate positioning likely helped protect his brain during those critical minutes. That is the power of preparation. Knowledge transforms panic into purpose, and purposeful action can help protect precious brain tissue. This message is not about living in fear of a stroke. It's about living with readiness. Readiness gives you power. Readiness gives your family peace of mind. And readiness means that if the moment ever comes, you won't feel helpless. Aging does not mean inevitable decline. It means greater awareness. You can strengthen circulation, train your reflexes, and nourish your brain with every breath, every step, and every meal. So remember this one clear line: when blood flow slows, don't panic. Lie down, elevate your legs, breathe slowly, let gravity help you. Simple, clear, potentially life-saving, because health isn't about avoiding every crisis life may bring. It's about knowing exactly what to do when one arrives. And that is real empowerment. If you're listening right now, share this knowledge with someone you care about, a parent, a friend, or a neighbor, because the next life this information protects might be someone you love. Practice the technique, rehearse it mentally, lie down, elevate your legs, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6, make it instinct, because in a critical moment, there's often no time to think, only time to act. Stay calm, stay aware. Your body often gives you a chance to fight back. You just need to know how to work with it.